and welcome to this edition of Business Today. In this edition, we shall be looking at the activities of the players in the manufacturing sectors as it concerns the scarcity of the dollars. From the money market, commercial banks raised deposit rates to 140%, as well as the need to ensure strict guidance to influx of substandard products. I am Abiola Ismail. First, the headlines. Commercial banks raised deposit rate to 140%. Man calls for single interest rate. Product authentications will safeguard consumers, says SON. Crude oil, price jump amidst shortage in US. Now the news in details. Banks have raised deposit rates by 140% in a bid to attract more funds from customers and address the sluggish growth in the deposit recorded in the first half of the year. The development appears to be a response to the rising of interest rates on one-year treasury bill to 10.1% by Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN). The TB rate was 5.74% at the end of last year. This development prompted most of the banks to jack up the deposit rate so as to enhance deposit growth in the second half of the year. Latest report on deposits and lending rate in the banking industry published by the CBN shows that average deposit rate of the top 13 banks rose by 140% to 5.3% from 2.2% at the end of December last year. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria (MAN) has urged the federal government to adequately meet the real sector credit needs at single-digit interest rates and also address the other challenges bedeviling the manufacturing sector. MAN, which made this known in its Manufacturers CEO's Confidence Index second quarter report, said that the government should address other challenges like poor access to foreign exchange forex, high cost of power, multiple taxation, port challenges, over-regulations, and poor access to funds, scarcity of raw materials, and low patronage. According to MAN, the new Central Bank of Nigeria's policy that stopped allocation of forex to the Bureau de Change segment of the foreign exchange market has further increased the responsibilities of commercial banks in handling forex sales and applications in the economy. The Director General, Standards Organization of Nigeria (SON), Malam Farouk Salim, has re-emphasized the need for the authentication scheme to empower consumers at the point of purchase and as well guide against influx of substandard goods. The SON boss made the call in Lagos while speaking with business editors on the challenges confronting the agency. He lamented the current situation where the agency is unable to carry out quality verification of all its regulated imported products at the ports of entry, nor accost suspected substandard products outside the ports. Salim maintained that SON was set up to provide technical assistance and support to the new local manufacturers as well as protect them from unfair competition from substandard products.
That's 1 million people right there working in the healthcare industry. So, and that's just hospitals alone, not pharmaceuticals, not producers of medicine, not sellers of medicine, not producers of equipment, hospital equipment. So the potential in this country of our industries is limitless. We have graduates now that have been looking for work for the last 5 years after NYSC. Excellent, smart individuals, professionals. It's not just a degree that you can say they are working, but there is no industry working for them because most of our products are either imported or they are underutilized because of other issues. We have infrastructure issues or other. So you can imagine one of the best ways our country to make progress and to make the great leap. China, it took them 40 years to be where they are today, the second largest economy in the world. So in our lifetime, we've seen China from the level of a third world country like ours to become a second to only America in terms of economy in the world. Nigeria is even more talented. Our people are educated. We understand the language, the whole world understands, we speak English. We have smart people, our parents, and still our parents and we ourselves to emphasize education. That's why wherever you go in the world, you see every professional, there's a Nigerian there somewhere. There's a Nigerian professor, there's a Nigerian top-class doctor, there's a Nigerian top-class, anybody's imagination. If there is any organization in this country outside the media, the military, the police, the next organization is us. It's not an organization of Nigeria.
As the price of crude oil continues to leap, due mainly to shortage in the United States and recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, experts have predicted further rise to $90 per barrel from $78 per barrel in the global market. An energy analyst, Damni Kuvalin, said, while we have long held a bullish oil view, the current global supply-demand deficit is larger than we expected. With the recovery in global demand from the Delta impact even as faster than our above consensus forecast, and with global supply remaining short of our below consensus forecast. Another energy expert, Dr. Balazaka, said, with the successful vaccination and other initiatives against the coronavirus pandemic, there were indications that the demand for the crude oil will continue to increase, thus causing price to rise. However, in the September 2021 monthly oil market report, OPEC said the world oil demand growth in 2021 remains unchanged from last month's assessment, showing growth of 6.0 MBD despite some offsetting revisions. We shall go for a short break now. When we come back, we will look at the focus for the week. Please stay tuned. You're welcome back from that short break. Inclusive economic growth is growth that leads to job creation, causing a ripple effect on the purchasing power of the majority of the populace. The private sector, and in particular small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are the drivers of any economy. SMEs are also the largest provider of direct employment, and inclusive growth can be achieved through promotion of policies that will drive their development. According to the CBN, 96% of Nigerian businesses are SMEs. US accounted for 3%, while EU accounted for 65%. Inclusive growth can be achieved by positioning these SMEs to take advantage of the opportunities in the economy. Being a sector of the economy which has been a major driver of the growth, innovation, and job creation, the micro, small, and medium enterprises' potential to support growth and create jobs has been hampered by lack of access to quality infrastructure in Nigeria. Against this backdrop, our focus this week on Business Today will beam its torchlight on the 30 years anniversary conference of the Finance Correspondents Association of Nigeria, FICAN, where it converged on Lagos financial experts that took a holistic look at the theme, financing infrastructure and SMEs for inclusive growth in post-COVID economy. What are the submissions of these panelists, led by the CBN Director of Corporate Communications, Osita Nwansinobi, on these critical issues? Let's listen to some extracts from the conference.
That there are certain realities as a nation that we just have to come to terms with and begin to interrogate and ask ourselves questions. Where do we go from here? And I'll give you one. But before that, let's have a little bit of some sterilized facts. Perhaps we will put a context to all of these conversations. And we know exactly what we are up and against. We said you need about 100 billion every year for the next 30 years to fix the infrastructural deficit. Now we look at what has been done. Between 2012 to 2019, we've spent about 19.8 billion on infrastructure. And that's about 7.134 trillion. And that pales out when you just oppose that with what you actually did per annum. Now, you look at power. Nigeria, population 200 million people, generates about 4,500 megawatts to 5,000 at the fractured governments. And South Africa, 60 million generates 51,000 megawatts. You move that a little bit on per capita power consumption. Malaysia, over 30 times, much more than what the average Nigerian consumes. And for South Africa, about 35 times much more than. Then move a little bit to SME. 2012, 2013, Sweden gave us a survey. And it said, you have about 39 million. Today is about 41. Let's say 42 million MSMEs in Nigeria. And it said that the financing gap is about 9.6 trillion, 2012. Now, today in newspaper, we are hearing that what you need per annum is about 670 billion per annum for SME. Now, you now begin to ask the question, where are we going to get these funds? Now, the reality is, what are we going to be subsidizing in this nation? Consumption or production? And this is the kind of conversation that we should begin to act, so that we get away from this cycle of we just come, talk through, discuss, and then we go away. And the issues are still there. And whether you like it or not, what you need is quantum. Infrastructure requires a heavy amount of money, low interest, long tenure. My other colleagues have spoken to that. And so what do we do? Do we subsidize consumption or do we subsidize production? We talked about this fuel subsidy for, I know when we started. In Igbo land, there is this saying, a good child. You come, they say you know where, tomorrow you know where, next tomorrow you know where. After a while, you go say, no, this time, if you want to die, when you die, let the parents come arrest. And we've talked about this subsidy since when? Every administration comes in, they talk about subsidy. And how much are we talking about? And then they talk about the corruption around the subsidy and all that. And then the subsidy thing fuels all the corruption that you didn't see in this nation. We are still talking about subsidy. So what do we do? And I think that's the kind of conversation we should be discussing.
After building capacity of our people, why building capacity of our people? You also need to work on the ecosystem. How do you insulate them from the vagaries of our society, which include infrastructure challenges? And it's no rocket science. What other countries have done is that they've invested heavily in industrial parks and technology parks. These are short-term measures. Along the railway lines, for instance, can we locate industrial parks so that they will be close to the rail line when the infrastructure is available? Along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, how many industrial parks can we create along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway? When the industrial parks are created, they have shared facilities. You have electricity, you have communication, you have security, and so many other things, rather than each SME being with our own local government. Because the amount of money you spend as an SME, providing the structure when you operate, is more than the amount of money you need to do the business. And other times, that governments are coming. We've seen them in most of the places we've been to. So let us have many industrial parks. If we have an industrial park, let us democratize entrepreneurship. Let's have industrial parks in each senatorial district. Let's start from there. So that this there's ownership. Then you now talk about the conferences for House of Reps members. So that every morning, youth in that environment can look forward to somewhere to go. And in that environment, and in industrial parks, there are people who will address them. To say, look, in this environment, these are the endowments we have. How can this endowment be efficiently and effectively converted from comparative advantage to competitive advantage. Every local government in this country is highly endowed with resources. But like you said in the Holy Books, our people perish for lack of knowledge. People do not know what they have in their localities or what can be done with them. A lot of work has been done by the Raw Materials and Development Council, as well as FIRO, and lately the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, regarding the endowment of the value. So that's where communication comes in. We need to enlighten our people on what the potential are in the environment and what they can do with them. That's talking about resource-driven SME development. But as we approach the fourth industrial revolution, we're talking about the knowledge economy, where you need is your brain and access to the internet.
I'll give an example of the road infrastructure tax credit that you mentioned. We are hoping that that can be extended to other sectors like rail. If you want SMEs to get the best benefit of infrastructure development in the country, the CBN government mentioned the largest area of cost for SMEs, which is energy. The second largest is in logistics movement of cargo around the country. Now, logistics means that if you want to reduce the cost of logistics and movement of cargo within the Nigerian borders, you have to have a rail system. Now, the federal government is undertaking a good redevelopment of that rail infrastructure, and that is sourced from public funds. Where do you want private funds to be able to come in? Where you want the debt capital markets to be able to come in that sector, for example, would be, first of all, on the coaches and carriages that will run on the rail that has been lined up. So you have to have some sort of public-private partnership whereas the government has publicly sourced financing for the rail lines, the cargo carriages, the coaches and the cargo and the carriages that must run on that rail network must be done by private sector. So private companies will be able to go into the capital markets, raise money for their operations, be able to show the viability of the cash flows as you move cargo around. Those expensive secondary and tertiary infrastructure can be operated by both governments but also private sector participants who can raise money on the back of the viability of the sector. But you cannot have those centers distributed, small mom and pop hospitals around, because you will never be able to fund a health infrastructure system that way. So the structure of the life sector matters. Whereas once the government decide to take up that primary health sector, they can use whatever limited funds they have to either fund them, to refurbish them, or in some cases to even, I won't say privatize, to even have private sector participants in a public-private partnership model. So financing is there. We think that all over the world, money is available for projects that will give investors confidence that there will be a return. But the underlying infrastructure has to be taken into consideration. We like the example of the road infrastructure tax credit. We think it was very, very well thought out. And FMDQ in particular is trying to put together a structure where those tax credits can be traded, provide liquidity, and you can draw more people into those markets. I hope we can extend that to other sectors. Thank you.
I think the main narrative here is to identify the potential sources of this long-term income. I'm quite pleased that income is here because we've been coming around to the anti to ask for long-term capital. And one notion I'd like to even bring to the fore is that a lot of us see this 12.7 trillion naira. Over half of that is already government money. And that is used to provide critical infrastructure, social infrastructure, economic infrastructure. States have raised money. What do they use this to provide? And I think the conversation is fast turning to, we've been looking towards the government for so long. We need to start looking inward. The man that has never paid tax before is wondering why his road is not taxed. A lot of us during the election will wonder why the road to our estate or to our neck of the woods is not taxed. But immediately they put a tolling charge, we go up in arms. We need to ask ourselves some real questions. The country is growing estimated between 2 and 3%. JP Morgan just released their projection for our GDP growth, which is about 1.5%. That is less than sub-Saharan Africa, less than even the Eurozone area, less than the world growth. So I'll just wind up by saying there are a couple of instruments available within the capital market, because essentially what we need are long-term funds. Debt, we've said it has to be debt. And it has to be long-term debt, so we have bonds.
Basically, we issued 3 instruments, 3 tranches. 7-year instruments, 12-year instruments, and then of course the 30-year instrument. What this means, okay, is that even the private sector, okay, could easily, okay, go offshore to borrow. Okay, now their own instruments can be priced off the sovereign. So there's now, a benchmark, okay, for for the private sector to also borrow instruments, okay, within the cost of 6% to 8%. So basically, what we did was that, okay, the cost, to government, okay, ranged between 6.1 to 5% to 8.25% for the 3 instruments. So essentially, we balance it. Essentially, we ensure that we spread out, we provide the instruments, okay, that will meet the yearnings and the needs of the market. We have the FDM bonds, the long-term bonds, like I said, that runs up to 30 years, and of course we have the green bonds. Okay, of course, which also might interest you, even though the volume is not much, but then it might also interest us to know, okay, that Nigeria became the first sovereign, the first African sovereign, okay, to issue a sovereign green bond, and of course the 4th in the world to issue a sovereign green bond. So we have that instrument there running, even though the bond is also so large, but then of course it's targeted to projects that are environmentally friendly. Then of course, we also have the Sukuk, which my colleague from Sectors also did mention. And over the past 3 issuances, we have issued up to 362.5 billion in Sukuk. The beauty of this Sukuk, essentially, is that it is targeted and it is ring-fenced to specific projects, and that of course helps us, to actually identify, those particular projects that those funds went into. But beyond that, of course, we normally issue our FGM bonds. Those FGM bonds are also long-term, 7, 10, 20 to 30 years. And those ones are essentially, what we call general purpose bonds, but then they are put in a pool. We fund government, put them in a pool, and of course government now decide on which capital projects all those funds will go to across all the allocations of various sectors of the economy, various MTAs, okay, whether it's in aviation, whether it's in education, whether it's in the water resources, and so on and so forth. So those ones are more like what we call the general purpose bonds, which the DMO borrows, and they're put in the pool, and of course the Minister of Finance now allocates those funds based on priority capital projects.
You're welcome back. Countries in sub-Saharan Africa have been spending about 6 to 12% of their GDP annually on infrastructure. Nigeria has been projected to need $100 billion investment to fix its infrastructure gap annually for the next 30 years, which is currently estimated to be about 1.2% of its gross domestic product GDP. Well, how feasible will this projection be? Time will tell. I will leave it now to the graphics of today's trading on the Lagos floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Prices of commodities and prices from industrial and precious metal. Till next time, when I will be coming again, do remain blessed. I am Abiola Ismail.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
It's time to feel the quality, the control, the variety. To feel Africa, it's time to go premium free. With any free-to-air decoder or satellite receiver, the correct settings, or go to our website to learn how. And you are good to go. 25 channels, everything from comedy, lifestyle, reality, sport, kids and blockbusters. With access to 200 more. Free forever. No cost, no subscription, 100% free. Take the next step. Tune in and just watch. It's that easy. Start watching premium free today. Why pay? Just watch.